Batman number 17, written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo. This is, of course, the final part of Death of the Family. And we open up this issue with a skeleton bat flying towards Batman while Joker's basically just taunting him like it's flying at us, POV, and it's just saying like, oh, it's coming, it's gonna get you. And Batman's like, what are you doing, Joker? And all of a sudden the lights come up and we see that the skeleton bat was just being puppeted by Joker. But more importantly, the entire Bat family is sat around a dinner table. The little two-headed lion cub is there, and everyone has bags over their head with serving trays in front of them. And Joker's like, all right, who's ready for dinner? Dinner's served. And Batman immediately just tells Joker, like, I'm going to get out of this in 6 seconds. I'm going to break every bone in your body. And Joker reveals, of course, he had contingencies. Turns out everybody is doused in gasoline, and underneath Batman's chair is some flint, so if he tries to move, it'll spark up and cause everybody to burst into flames. So he has to just kind of sit there and take it for right now. But then Joker's like, hey, weren't you asking me about Alfred before? Don't you want to know what happened to Alfred? And Batman's like, yes, please tell me what happened to Alfred. And Alfred comes out from a little side catacomb because they're in the caves underneath the Bat Cave, I guess. Like, this isn't actually the Bat Cave proper. But Alfred comes out and he's Jokerized. And Batman's like, oh, okay, well, I'm happy you're alive, but it's kind of rough that you're Jokerized. And Joker tells Alfred to pull the rope, which takes off the hoods over everyone's heads. And it turns out everyone in the Bat family is completely bandaged up across their entire faces, and it looks like they're very bloody bandages. And Joker's like, well, took me some time, but I got it done. And he takes off the lids to the serving trays to reveal that all of their faces are on ice being served to them. And we get this horrifying image of Joker saying how, I hope you like it, I made it with love. So this is where we get back into the whole, why is Joker doing this sort of thing? And he's like, yeah, I took off their faces because it was so easy. Like, underneath is just muscle and sinew and grossness, but underneath my face is just a bigger smile, and underneath your face, Batman, I'm sure is just more Batman. And Joker lays into him. He's like, okay, here I got a question for you. Why won't you kill me? Why do you not do that? And he's like, because if I do that, you'll win. He's like, yeah, okay, but that's stupid. Like, that is actually dumb. Like, if I'm dead, I'm dead. I wouldn't win, I'd be dead. The real reason you don't kill me is because you like me. You like having me around. I make you feel something. I am what gives you purpose. The rest of the family members here, they're the ones who take that away. They make you so you don't want to be Batman. You want to be able to spend your life just hanging out with them. So, yeah. That's the whole thing here. And Batman does also say here that he doesn't know who Joker is. He says there's never been any DNA evidence. And Joker's like, yeah, all right, whatever. So at that point, Joker pulls out his little black book that he's had this whole time that apparently has all the identities of all the Robins in it. And he's like, Batman's the one who wrote this for me. And not like literally, it's metaphorically. Of every time he let me go or any of his rogues gallery go, he was just signing the death warrant because he was always going to keep going until the family died, until there was another dead Robin, or until the villains just got one up on him one too many times. It was always going to go that way. So Joker basically says, all right, this is it, let's just get it over with, pull off the band-aid quick. And he lights a match and says, I'll do it or you can do it, up to you, but we all know that you want to do it. And Batman then gets up from his chair, causing the entire family to get set ablaze, and he immediately breaks out of his stuff, and he's like, Joker, you should have realized I know these caves better than anyone. And he fires a grenade up into the roof, which turns out to be a water reservoir of some sort, and it immediately extinguishes the fire over everybody. And Joker's like, crap, alright, that's not funny. So he immediately starts running off. Batman unwraps Damian, takes the bandages off his face, and Damian's like, is it bad? I can't feel my face. What's going on, Dad? And turns out Joker just lied. All their faces are still intact. It was all just a ruse. So he unwraps everybody else and says, like, okay, we got to keep Alfred restrained because he's been Jokerized, but other than that, we can take him back to the cave. And Nightwing's like, dude, no, go get Joker. Like, he's still in the cave. Just go get him. And he's saying, like, no, 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 I'm not going to leave you guys. I'm not going to let Joker possibly do something more. He's like, no, 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 we're fine. Go. And Batman looks at his family and is just like, all right. So he takes off. Meanwhile, the family, as they're getting unwrapped, look at that weird little two-headed lion cub, and all of a sudden, its smaller head starts blinking, and turns out that Joker put in a Joker gas bomb inside of it, so they immediately all just become Jokerized and start attacking each other. So Batman chases after Joker. He somehow has an axe, and he starts trying to hatchet Batman, and Batman is just not having it. Like, Joker's trying to be like, oh, you just had to go and ruin my party. And Batman's like, shut up. We're not doing this. We are done. And he's like, oh, okay, you want to do this fisticuffs then? And he's like, no, we're not doing anything. I am done with you, Joker. I am done with all of this. And we keep on cutting back to the family fighting each other. And Joker reveals, like, yes, well, you better get done with me quick then, Batman, because you'll have to get back to your family, if they're even still alive. And Batman's like, no, stop. I'm not letting you talk anymore. I'm not letting you, like, taunt me anymore. This is it. We're done. My family is what makes me stronger. You, I'm done with you. And Joker kind of takes that personally. He squirts some acid in Batman's face and tries to run off, but then he comes to a giant waterfall within one of the caves, nearly falls off, but then Batman grabs him, and he's like, no, no, no. You don't get to die by accident. What happens here tonight to you happens because of me. And he basically says, you know what, Joker, you're right. I do want to end this, so let's take this further than we've ever gone. I know who you are. And Joker's like, no, you don't. You're lying. And he's like, no, no, no. You were gone for a whole year. And I finally figured it out in between that time. I know exactly what your name is. And he's like, okay, yeah, stop bluffing. Tell me. And we see in the middle of this, Alfred, despite being Jokerized, manages to get in the middle of the family fighting and calms them down so they stop fighting. And so Batman leans into Joker's ear. He's like, no, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say your real name. Your real name is... And Joker does not want to hear it. He shocks Batman and then falls off the waterfall, seemingly to his death, with his face floating away otherwise. And at that point, Batman takes off his cowl. He goes and finds Joker's little black book that fell out during the fight. And he sees it was always blank. There was nothing ever there. So Joker never knew their identities. So some time passed, at least a night. We see Alfred is in bed rest, and Batman's like, hey, I'm going to be taking care of you. Here's a little bell. Ring it if you want some food or a drink or a real drink. And Alfred's like, oh, no, you are not being my butler. And he's like, nope, you're going to rest up. Also, the family's going to be here soon, so going to have to see them. But then, one by one, he gets a text from Barbara and from Tim and from Jason and from Damian, basically all saying, like, hey, they're not going to make it. So... Bruce explains to Alfred, like, the reason I knew that he didn't know who we are is that I know he's not interested. Way back when they first brought Dick into the family, Bruce went as Bruce to Arkham Asylum, and he went up to Joker's cell and held up the Joker card that he left in the Batcave that one night and said, I think this belongs to you. And Joker looked at him and just didn't care. He did not even recognize that it was Batman. He didn't want to know because that would be the end of the game. So at that point, Bruce gets a call from Dick, who, after everyone else canceled, he's like, don't worry, I get it. You know, you got other stuff going on. And he's like, all right. Turns out Dick's actually right outside. He was totally willing to come in, but he's being turned away. And Bruce basically asks him, like, okay, did Joker say anything to you guys when you were all in the dark? And he's like, no, he didn't say anything. We didn't even know it was there until he started talking to you. So at that point, Bruce goes down to the Batcave. They were talking about there was some element in the Joker toxin that was still left over in their systems that Bruce had to investigate. And the system finally found the element that was missing, which was called dubnium, which apparently originally was not named dubnium. It was named hafnium. And so the ending image is just the letters HA, as it slowly zooms in on a computer and a fly that is sitting on the screen. And that's it. That's Death of the Family. I mean, I like it. I think it's definitely a solid story in terms of Batman. I don't know if it needed as many tie-ins, you know? I know that's not the core story's fault, and that's probably editorial coming in saying, like, hey, we need everything in the Bat family to tie in to the Joker being back. And, like, I get it from a sales perspective, but from a storytelling perspective, it seems a lot better when you just slim it down to just the core Batman issues. The tie-ins really do kind of just say the same thing over and over again, you know? So I know that's not this issue's fault. I know it's probably not even Scott Snyder's fault, but it is something to take into account with the event as a whole. As for this particular issue, I mean, I don't know what I really would have wanted out of it. I think it did a good enough job of wrapping up the story that it's telling, but in the end, it didn't really feel like it made any shattering changes. The biggest thing here is that it seems that, you know, the Bat family is kind of taking a break from each other, which, okay, cool, I guess, but it doesn't really feel like that was justified. Like, the fact that he could be like, no, Joker didn't know who any of you were. He literally got you all when you were in costume. Like, that's it. You were fine. You were, like, everything else was just in your head. So I feel like it would have held more weight if Joker actually did know who they were. I know that would have immediately have done irreconcilable differences with the rest of the universe, but I think that's the only way that I could justify the family disbanding, you know? But otherwise, art's great. I actually found that this is the one issue where I listened to what Joker was saying in his whole, oh, Batman, me and you, or something special, and, like, it actually seemed to be coherent rather than just the ramblings of a madman. So overall, I'm going to give this particular issue I'll give it a 7. It's fine, but it does take the brunt of here's the build-up of what we've been doing over the past several months, and it's just kind of not everything I wanted it to be, which is nowhere to blame but me, but either way, it's getting a 7.